Stranded in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, with no land in sight, her fiancé gone, and the yacht barely holding together, she had no idea if she would live to see another day. For 41 days, Tami Oldham Ashcraft fought the sea, hunger, loneliness, and her own mind. It was supposed to be the trip of a lifetime. Tami and her fiancé, Richard Sharp, were living their dream, sailing from Tahiti to San Diego on a beautiful 44-foot yacht. The ocean stretched endlessly before them, a picture of calm. They had already sailed for 20 days, enjoying the adventure of a lifetime. The sea was their playground, but nature has a way of turning paradise into a living nightmare. One afternoon, the radio brought chilling news. A storm was brewing. Not just any storm, but a record-breaking hurricane. This one was a monster. Hurricane Raymond, a swirling beast, was coming straight for them. With winds over 140 miles per hour, it wasn't a question of whether they would face it, but how they could possibly survive it. They prepared as best as they could, tying down every loose object, checking their emergency supplies. Richard kept the boat steady as the waves grew taller, the wind more violent. Their hearts raced. The storm was about to hit. Hurricane Raymond slammed into them with full force. Waves as tall as buildings pounded the boat. The wind was deafening, screaming in their ears as the boat was tossed around like a toy. Tami and Richard were strapped in, holding on for dear life. And then, the worst happened. A giant wave, towering over them like a wall of water, smashed into the boat. It flipped the yacht completely. Tami was thrown down into the cabin, hitting her head. The world went black. When Tami woke up, everything had changed. The boat was in ruins. The sails were shredded. The radio, their only connection to the outside world, was destroyed. But worse than the wreckage of the yacht, Richard was gone, swept overboard in the chaos of the storm. Tami was alone, totally, utterly alone in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. She called for him, screamed his name, but all she heard in return was the sound of the wind and the crashing waves. Richard was gone, and she had no time to grieve. At that moment, her survival instinct kicked in. The situation was terrifying, but Tami was not the type to give up easily. She had sailed before. She knew the ocean. She knew what she had to do. She managed to patch together a small sail, using parts of the wrecked boat. She rationed the little food and water she had left, canned goods, a bit of fruit, and some water bottles. It wasn't much. She'd have to make it last. Every day was a new challenge. The sun beat down on her relentlessly. She had no way to tell if she was heading in the right direction. Her navigation equipment had been destroyed. But she had a plan. Tami would navigate by the stars, heading for Hawaii, over 1,500 miles away. It was her only chance. Days turned into weeks. Each morning, Tami hoped for rescue. Each night, she faced the overwhelming silence of the sea. The loneliness was crushing. The days were endless, the nights even longer. There was no sign of life. No sign of land, just the ocean. It was as if the world had forgotten her. She kept herself going, one day at a time. She fought hunger. She fought thirst. She used the yacht's broken equipment to catch rainwater and even tried fishing to get food. But no matter how hard she worked to survive physically, was one thing she couldn't escape. Her mind. Being alone for that long does something to a person. It plays tricks on you. After a while, Tami began hearing voices. Voices that weren't there. She started seeing Richard. Sometimes he was beside her, smiling. Other times, he called to her from the waves, telling her to jump in the water, as if he were waiting for her. But Tami knew it wasn't real. The mind is a powerful thing, but in those moments, it can be a dangerous enemy. She had to fight her grief, her fear, and her own imagination. By day 41, Tami was barely holding on. She had lost 40 pounds. Her body was weak, her strength nearly gone. But then, like a miracle, she saw something she had almost stopped believing in. Land, Hilo, Hawaii. It was still far away, but it was there. Her final challenge was getting to shore. With the last of her strength, Tami guided the broken yacht closer and closer. And finally, after 41 days lost at sea, she made it. Her feet touched solid ground, but the journey wasn't over. Not yet. Surviving the sea was one thing. Surviving the loss of Richard was another. As the relief washed over her, the weight of what she had truly lost hit her. Richard was gone. Forever. Tami had survived the impossible. But some wounds don't heal. The sea had taken her love, her partner. She would carry that grief with her for the rest of her life. She was never the same. Survival isn't just about the body, it's about the heart. And sometimes, surviving means learning how to live with the pieces that remain. For more tales of the unexplained and the extraordinary, subscribe and turn on notifications. Until next time, keep surviving.